Remember last week, Abraham's descendants, the Israelites, were in the land of Egypt. They had grown in number, which made Pharaoh scared that they would rise up against him. So he made them slaves and even commanded his soldiers to kill all the newborn baby boys. One faithful family hid their baby boy Moses in a basket and put him among the reeds in the river Nile. He was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter, who took him to the palace and raised him as her own son. Moses grew and was taught in the way of the Egyptians and lived like a prince. But he knew he was not an Egyptian. He was one of God's people. One day, when he was older, he saw an Israelite being treated badly by an Egyptian slave master. In protecting him, he killed the Egyptian. When Pharaoh heard what had happened, he tried to kill Moses. So Moses had to run, going from being a prince to shepherd. And one day, while looking after the sheep, he saw a bush on fire. In this hot country, it wasn't unusual, but as he got closer, he saw that the leaves were not being burnt up. He then heard God's voice from the bush. "Moses, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt, so I have come down to rescue them. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." "Me?" Moses was surprised and very afraid. "I will be with you." "Who shall I say has sent me? What is your name?" "I am who I am." Moses was afraid, but he returned to Egypt to bring his people out into freedom. Moses and his brother Aaron went to Pharaoh. "Let my people go." "No." Pharaoh was angry. He didn't want to lose his slaves. Pharaoh thought that he was the most important person in the whole world, that he was God. He was ignoring the fact that these were God's people, and if God wanted them to leave, they would. So God showed Pharaoh in 10 different ways that he was the only true God. He turned the river Nile from water into blood. This is where the Egyptians got their food and their water to drink. The fish died and the whole land would have smelt. He sent slimy frogs. God sent itchy gnats. But Pharaoh still refused. God sent disgusting flies. He sent an illness which killed all the Egyptian farm animals. In those days there were no supermarkets. If they couldn't farm, they had no money or food. He made horrible boils on their skin which were painful and itchy. But still Pharaoh said no. He was very stubborn. Before God sent the last 3 signs, Pharaoh was given a special message from God through Moses. These plagues would be even more serious than the others. "You must listen," said Moses. They were to convince Pharaoh and all the people that there is none like God in all the earth. As an example of his grace, God warned Pharaoh to shelter whatever cattle and crops remained. Some of Pharaoh's servants listened. You see, the 7th plague was lightning and hail from the sky. It was a storm like they'd never seen. Next, God sent locusts. The crops which had survived the hail were now being devoured by the swarms of locusts. Ninthly, God made everything dark in the land for 3 days. This would have been frightening. And still Pharaoh refused. So God did something very serious, and it was very sad. That night, every firstborn son in Egypt would die. But God's people were told that if they trusted in him, they could kill a lamb, and that lamb would die instead of the child. They were told to put the blood of the lamb on the door of the house, and whoever did this would be safe, because they were trusting in God. Many died that night, and Pharaoh told Moses and his people to go, to leave at once. They were free, but it had come at a great cost. God had showed his power and his protection for his people. He had shown that he was faithful to the promise he had made before.